Welcome back to this week's episode of the Rock Solid Sports Podcast. Today is Saturday, first time on a Saturday, February 15th, and the NFL season is finally over.
Yeah, it kind of breaks my heart a little bit, but, now we look forward to the next season. Got some other sports that are coming to the fold a little bit, so.
I feel like it went by kind of quick.
It kind of did. I mean, I think, the first, 4 or 5 weeks of every season always take forever, and then as soon as they pass the halfway mark, it's like you're already done.
Yeah, so, we're going to talk about everything Super Bowl. And then, some takes we had early in the season that might be bad, might be good.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it on the other side. Let's do it.
We gonna make it, baby.
Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid. Rock solid sports.
Welcome back to this week's episode. We are brought to you by Sluv as usual. Go check them out on Instagram at sluv.co, that is sluv.co, or on their website at sluv.us, that is sluv.us. Drop hopefully coming soon. Go check out their website. Go shop some merch. I have a great idea for them that I can't wait to present them that came about this past weekend at the Golden Retriever Convention.
Yeah.
Interesting way to kind of combine that. But, maybe we'll see that soon too. But anyway, we are going to talk about Super Bowl Sunday, which happened last week, where the Philadelphia Eagles dominated the Kansas City Chiefs. I guess first off, I know it's not really what we all expected, the ass whooping, but I guess what's your take on how bad the Chiefs play? We'll start there.
I said this when we watched the game. This is what happens when you let the third best AFC team make it into the Super Bowl. Their luck was going to run out. And I said all year that they played an unsustainable brand of ball, and I knew it was going to come back to bite them at some point. I'm glad I'm finally right on that. I was wrong a lot throughout the season, but it's I don't know. The Eagles are just such a better team, and I think that showed. And I think the Chiefs did play bad, that's definitely a big part of it. But the Eagles are just a tank. They are a wagon, and that there was nobody who was really going to stop them. I don't think any team in the AFC could have beat them this year, to be honest with you. I think it's kind of like an Ohio State situation where it's nobody could have beat them. They were just on that road to win it all. So I was excited to see him win it. I'm happy for Saquon. He got it done. Very interesting letting Kenny Pickett take the knee to end the game instead of Jalen Hurts, but apparently that screwed a lot of sports books over. Yeah. It was an interesting game to watch. I do wish it was closer. I'm happy the Chiefs lost, but I really wish that game was a little bit tighter and a little bit more entertaining, but it was still fun to see the Chiefs get their ass kicked.
Before I swing it over to this side, we have a special guest today. Scott, if you want to, say what you're going to say real quick, start us off, and then, give us your take on the Chiefs ass whooping.
Will do. Rock Solid fanatic here. You've seen me in the comments. Big fan of the program.
Friend of the program.
Humbled to be, in the Rock Solid studio here in a chair previously occupied by the likes of Hunter and Saul, Trey as a special guest.
Yeah, Trey.
Big fan of the show and happy to be here. As far as the Super Bowl goes, I think we saw my main takeaway was how much you can do when you get pressure with your front four. And you don't have to blitz. You don't have to leave those DBs out there on an island. The Eagles' ability to do that changed the entire game. Mahomes was never comfortable back there. He didn't have time. They were pushing the pocket into him. Couldn't scramble. That was my main takeaway. Saquon didn't put up the huge numbers, but his impact on the game was huge because you could tell the Chiefs geared their entire defense towards we're not going to let him beat us. And I think he ended with 50-some-odd yards, 55 maybe. 57. But his impact on the game was huge, and it allowed Devontae and A.J. to get that single coverage and kind of get their yards. Goddard, another big game for him, 2-3 catches, but in big spots. I didn't expect the game to be a blowout like that, especially not after that first drive. We get the really weak offensive PI on A.J. Brown early on in the game, and you start to think, here we go again. Was glad that did not kind of persist throughout the game.
Caden?
Hey,
I love to watch it. I hate him.
He has a huge smile on his face.
I hate him so much, and it's the best is the 40-22 doesn't even. It's not even describing the game. It was not that close. Which
34-0 at
yeah,
one point.
exactly. It was
All garbage points by the Chiefs.
100%. They, I mean, like I think there's a video. It's like they scored I think 14 or 17, but like by that point Nick Sirianni already had the Gatorade on him. Like nobody cared. No, I loved it. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I have nothing to say. It was awesome.
I think you made a great point. I think it was 0% blitz percentage, and the one play they tried to blitz on was a penalty, so it didn't even like count as a play call in the whole game log. It's honestly crazy that their front four got to Patrick Mahomes that fast, and
6 sacks.
we really haven't seen that since that Tampa Super Bowl when it wasn't even their whole front four. Like they were sending 5, 6 sometimes, but they were able to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And the two worst times we've kind of seen Patrick Mahomes have been on the Super Bowl like level. And I mean, did play Tom Brady in one of them, and then did play this stacked Eagles team. But it's kind of funny how I don't want to say he has gotten ridiculed so far, just from like the national media of, you're put in this big stage and then you perform kind of poorly twice, but that kind of just takes away from his other 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just funny to see how quick like the narrative has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of enjoy it as just a hate watcher in general, but and then same with Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks old out there.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second too, but it's kind of just cool to see how quick the narrative changed. If this was my team, I'd be pretty mad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, we've won 3 rings in the last 5 years, but just like that, people are already doubting them for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think, people have been kind of doubting them for the past, 2 years, I think. I think last year was a big doubt year. That was kind of a shock that they ended up winning it. That was the first time where I was like, they can say that people, didn't believe in them and they're actually right about it. But I think it's one of those things where they just got to do a little bit more. It can't just be 2 great coaches and Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's got to be a bunch of different stuff. It's got to be a bunch of different players that come into the fold. And yeah, like on First Take, they're saying like, how does this affect Mahomes' legacy? I'm like, when you play in 6 Super Bowls, you're going to have a bad game. Like, it's just going to happen. Statistically, it makes sense that that's something that will happen. So I think it's interesting to see what they do in the offseason. I think Kelce will play one more year. I think had they won, I think he would have gone off into the sunset. But I think because of how it ended, like I think he'd even rather like go out in like an AFC Championship, AFC Divisional with like a tough fought loss. Like I think he'd rather do that. So I think we'll see him for at least one more year if I had to guess. But yeah, he did not look good at all this year. I think he had like 3 touchdowns like on the entire season. And yeah, I think it's just he's old. He's running kind of out of time with the position he plays, and people are starting to figure him out a little bit more. And I think he doesn't have the explosion that he once had to deal with teams knowing like what he's gonna do and stuff. Because at first, for a while, it didn't matter. They like knew.
Just take it away from him.
Yep.
This is the fun part we get to do. Anyway, we'll get back to this. Expectations on the Chiefs next year, and do you guys think Travis Kelce returns?
Go
ahead.
I do. I agree with Jackson. I think if they win, he rides off, but I feel like he doesn't want to go out shining like that, quite literally. I mean, with his glimmery outfit. But I think their expectations for next year, I don't think anything really changes for them. I think everyone's going to expect the same thing, the powerhouse of the Chiefs.
AFC West champs. I think that's still the expectation.
Yeah, well, we got something to say about that.
Yeah.
That's what I got to say.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Chargers are in the playoffs too. Chargers.
Hey, we're here.
Okay.
AFC West, all Super Bowl coaches, maybe the greatest coaching division right now.
We'll get to that
We're
on a further subject. Your thoughts going into next year?
So I kind of have a different opinion on Kelce. I think he could be done. I think he looked slow. I think his inability to kind of separate and get open. I mean, his bread and butter used to be kind of sitting down in that zone, finding those empty spots and kind of creating that separation. Those last 2 games, he showed none of that. And then if we can backtrack on the Chiefs just for a second, what the hell were they doing in the first half? You run the ball 3 times. Coming off a pretty decent game Kareem Hunt had against Buffalo the prior week, it was almost like Mahomes kind of felt like this is my legacy game. I'm going for the three-peat. No one's ever done it. Put it on my shoulders, and I'll take us there. And they just it wasn't that they couldn't run the ball. They didn't even try to run the ball.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, 100%. I mean, it just, they took away any guesses that they were going to do anything other than throw the ball with Mahomes. And when you do that, especially against such a good defense like Philly, like they're going to lock you down. They're going to scheme to that. And I think that's really hurt them. I also think, Pacheco being like not 100%, I think that also hurts a lot because that was like their main guy and he ran the ball so hard. And after his injury, it just hasn't really looked the same. I think he'll bounce back next year and be fine. But this season, it seemed like he was always playing at about 70%. And Kareem Hunt's good, but I don't think can add what Pacheco maybe could have added in this game. But, it's maybe one of those things, too, where they look at that front line, the defense for them, and they're like, how can we run? Because they're just going to shut us down the entire time.
They couldn't protect pass protection either, though.
No, yeah. And, I think the biggest thing is they were able to contain the Mahomes miracles, and I think that was the biggest part because a lot of his game plan, because they're not that great of a team, a lot of their game plan does rely on him running around the pocket, trying to find somebody, like eventually being able to squeak out and like be able to get something done. But what was happening is he would do that, and every time he turned around, there was another guy, and if he turned around, there's another guy, and they were containing him so well that they were forcing him to make bad decisions. And one thing Mahomes does really well is he takes risks a lot, and a lot of the time they pay off, and that's why people look at him like this magician of a quarterback. But when you do that much, you're going to get burnt every now and then. And, he just ended up throwing a couple picks and pick sixes. That's really what ended up really hurting him. And just that defense was able to lock down the Mahomes magic in the pocket and kind of like force him to make bad decisions and not be able to kind of like take control of the game with his feet. And that was so huge for them. Shout out to my dogs, by the way, Georgia Bulldogs that are on that team. That picture of Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis all on the line about the blitz is elite. That's going to be hanging up in the Georgia locker room for years.
Did you see the video of Nolan Smith trying to get in the driver's seat of the cop car after getting drunk at the parade?
Hey, man, it's in their
Georgia
blood.
culture.
It's in their
Georgia
blood.
culture. They don't forget about those ones. Going back on your point, the Chiefs 11 rushes for 49 yards the whole game. Patrick Mahomes being the leading rusher with 4 attempts. Kareem Hunt had 3, Pacheco had 3, and then P. Ryan had 1. A kind of off subject, but Pacheco kind of gives me Javonte Williams vibes going into next year. Javonte Williams was great his first rookie and a half year, and then he hurt everything in his right leg, and then he kind of came back terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be the same thing with Pacheco because when he first started in the league, he was trying to run. He was such an aggressive runner,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you can really come back and have that same aggression. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the vibes he gives me right now. Yeah, I don't really get the non-running. That's what you said. That's what you told me. Like literally in the first 5 drives, you were just like, I don't know how they're not running the ball or even trying to.
Yeah.
So that's funny that you bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys really want to talk about. Eagles, on the Eagles side, the receiving core, you mentioned it. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown had a great game. Like you said, Dallas Goedert. Jahan Dotson almost got first touchdown score, and I know anybody who had that bet was very disappointed. But yeah, everybody played out of their mind on the Eagles side, besides obviously Saquon, who still had a threat on the game. Jalen Hurts, though, I think it might be time to give Jalen Hurts a little bit of credit. If you had to rank him, just in quarterbacks in the NFL right now, what number would you put him at?
I'd probably put him at 4, if you want me to be honest. I think it goes Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, and then Hurts. I think Hurts is really good, but when you look at quarterback play, there's something about the 3 guys that are in front of him that are that you watch them and you're like, they dominate the game. Where there's a lot of games where you look at Jalen Hurts and you'll be like, maybe leaning on Saquon a little bit. Still an amazing quarterback, but doesn't have that it factor still. I think he's really, really solid, and obviously won a Super Bowl, had a great game. But I would put him about 4. I think you can move him around between that 4 and 2 spot. I think the 1 is Mahomes. I think that's pretty obvious. But I think Jackson, Allen, and Jackson and Allen are interchangeable. But yeah, I think Hurts is more like a 4 in my mind right now.
You guys, you're really thinking.
Kind of agreeing with Jackson there. Right around that probably 3-4 slot. I mean, the biggest thing he does is he doesn't make mistakes out there. He's going to protect the ball. He's going to make good decisions. And that's, 2 Super Bowl appearances in 3 years with a win?
4 years.
4 years
yeah,
with a win.
Mm-hmm.
He's threatening. Yeah, Allen and Jackson are great, but they lack that postseason success that he's been able to find. And I think that's got to kind of heavily weight the discussion.
That's also the Mahomes factor. It's just
Yeah.
the Tom Brady factor.
Yeah.
Some of those guys will never get recognition.
Yeah. No, I think you guys nailed it. I don't think that there's anyone you could really say that's better than those 4 right there.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if there's an argument for anyone else.
I have an argument real quick.
okay.
I'm kind of leaning. I get the Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs, and I love Lamar. I'm a huge Lamar supporter. I think everybody knows that. But if I had to rank them right now, I'd probably be Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, because of the MVP. I would consider the 3 and 4 spot being Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow,
That's fair.
just because of the season Joe Burrow had in the regular season again this year. And then I'd probably think about putting Lamar Jackson, because if you're going to talk about playoff success, like he said, you got to weigh some of that in. Josh Allen's gotten to 13 seconds left at least in the AFC Championship this past year. I mean, that one was rough, but I don't know. It's been Josh Allen's got there close a couple times. Lamar really hasn't gotten close.
Yeah.
He's had that one AFC Championship, which was 2 years ago. But other than that, I mean, the regular season success is great, and Joe Burrow's made a Super Bowl as well. So I think putting Lamar at 5 is safe, even though those two MVPs obviously hold weight. I think Trey will probably give me a little shit for that. Probably Isaac if he listens to. But I don't know. I think those 5 are pretty cemented though for the top 5.
100%. And I think, Mahomes, I mean, ever since, that second ring or whatever, and everyone's like, he's going to catch Tom Brady, I think that clock's starting to tick down a little bit, if you want me to be honest with you, because I think the one thing that Mahomes has that Tom Brady didn't have was, injury issues. Like, Tom Brady, for more or less...
He did have that, was an ACL?
Yeah,
early.
Yeah, Matt Castle stepped in, took him to the playoffs.
But yeah, Mahomes seems to get hurt every year. It's not a huge injury, but he seems to get kind of banged up every year, which is not really going to affect his game, but it might affect his ability to play till 40, like Tom Brady did. And also, he's not dealing with a great team. Tom Brady wasn't either, really, but I don't know. He's not looking at the brightest future right now with the Chiefs unless they can make some moves.
That's true.
And one of the best quarterbacks of all time can only take you so far if everything else around you is kind of falling to pieces. Especially if the Bills can load up, because I think at the beginning of the season we looked at the Bills and said that they weren't going to be as good because they lost so many
rebuilding.
people.
They were supposed to be in rebuilding,
and they made it to the AFC Championship. So I think that the AFC is just going to get stronger, and I think that the Chiefs are going to stay about the same, if not get a little weaker. So I'm interested to see how that goes, but I think Mahomes has a really rough road ahead of him, and if he can find a way to win a bunch more rings and catch up to Brady that way, I would feel confident putting him over him. If he were able to catch up to him in rings and stuff, I'd feel okay with that, because I feel like he is going to have to do it with not that great of a setup, unless the Chiefs make a couple moves. I mean, that could happen, but it's interesting to see where his career is going to go from here, because I think, before this, people were like, well, the Chiefs are unbeatable. They're untouchable right now. They've been there a bunch, but next year I could see them not making the Super Bowl, maybe not even making the AFC Championship. It's very possible.
Right. Write that one down.
Yeah, future bold take. But but I'm also a KC, hater. I don't really hate him. I don't really have anything against him. It's just I like seeing different teams win, and it gets boring when the same team's doing the same thing every year. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. But I think the AFC is going to get really, really powerful, and I think that the Chiefs are going to stay about on that same line they're on right now.
Any last thoughts on the Super Bowl? We want to talk commercials, halftime show, anything else?
The halftime show was mid.
Okay.
Commercials were mid.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was one thing. I know there was a message to his performance that went over my head at least. But I think it lacked spectacle, which I think is a big thing that comes with being in a Super Bowl performance. Rihanna a couple years ago had spectacle. She did it while pregnant. She was halfway to the ceiling, dancing and shit. Like there's like spectacle to this shit.
He seems
She's
to
a
remember a lot.
She's
I
a
do.
spectacle herself.
Yeah, she is. But yeah, no, I just think it lacked that kind of like he kind of was just walking around a stage for a little bit and like brought out SZA, who a lot of people are saying she was like lip syncing. So I don't know, but it was just kind of okay. And I think that's what happens when you do any specific genre in the halftime show. Like I feel like the halftime show is best when it's done with like pop and like rock.
Yeah, it is.
But like country wouldn't work. Rap is a hit or miss kind of like but you got to go like broad, and I think that's why like pop and rock work because it's so broad and everyone listens to it. Like we enjoyed it, like I enjoyed it, but there was probably a good portion of America that was like, I don't know who this is, and like I've never heard any of these songs. He didn't play any of his hits really. That whole performance was just to play the Drake
Fuck
diss
Drake.
song. That was like the whole point. When I'm like, you had all these songs you could have played and you didn't play any of them. Like, I don't know. It was like he was trying to promote his album more than he was trying to just like perform for the Super Bowl. But I think it was really focused on Drake, and that was like a big part of it. But yeah, I just think when you get somebody like in a rap or a country area, like you're gonna have half the people being like really locked into it, and you're gonna have half people that don't care. So I enjoyed it. I just didn't. I think it lacked that like spectacle that I was talking about. Like there was nothing like phenomenal that happened. Like the biggest thing was like Sam Jackson coming out. Like that was cool. But it just lacked that spectacle for me, and I think that's why it kind of just fell flat.
I've never heard anybody call him Sam Jackson, Samuel Jackson. Your guys' thoughts on the halftime show?
No, I agree. I thought it was alright. I don't know, like you said, nothing really to make note over. I feel like you said,
You're a rap fan though, so
Yeah.
like for you it was probably enjoyable. But
I mean, it was fun. I think it was mid too. Like I liked it. Don't get me wrong, like you said, but I didn't like. I agree with him. And like you're performing at the Super Bowl. It's kind of like you need to go all out almost. And like you're as much as you don't want to play the things that made you famous or whatever, it's probably what you should play. Like I agree with him 100%. I thought it was cool.
When you do the Super Bowl, you play the hits.
Yeah, you're trying to I don't know. I thought it was fine, but could have been better for sure. I expected more, I guess, out of Kendrick, I would say.
Yeah, so as someone who's not really his demographic, I guess, or his typical, fan, I know a little bit about him. I'm not too familiar with him, so I kind of feel like if you're a fan of his, you probably really liked it. But to Jackson's point, I think the Super Bowl is about kind of a wider appeal. You want to bring in people who maybe don't know you as well. So, play the hits. But yeah, it was just one long 30-minute kind of shot at Drake. Yeah. I guess there were people who wanted that. I could take it or leave it. It didn't. It was all right.
Yeah, according to Kai Cenat, they were pumping in crowd noise because he was there, and apparently it was like quiet.
Did you see the videos of people on their phones in the stadium?
Yeah.
So.
I got my take on that, I guess, would be I don't know if we have. There's probably like 5 people that can really perform the Super Bowl, and like you probably would get like a even 60% approval rating.
Mm-hmm.
Like Taylor Swift, honestly, like 3 years ago, probably would have been one.
Yeah.
Don't even know if she is one anymore because of the NFL fans just hate her. I really don't hate her or like her, but like she's probably just not going to get that. I was listening to someone say like Rihanna probably, but just did it 3 years ago. Beyonce, she's I don't think ever going to do it. Justin Bieber, maybe 5 years ago. Like there's just certain people, and like it used to be like Michael Jackson, Prince, Beatles, like Paul McCartney, I think had his own solo
and like all these guys,
rock bands too. Like they used to have a very wide appeal to people. Like even the hits everybody knew. Yeah. Even if you weren't like he knows probably more like Beatles and stuff than me, even though he probably doesn't like know it maybe, but for sure like we've heard it.
Yeah, and then you got like the Bruno Mars one where like
that one was good.
That one was really good, and he brought out like 7 people like to come perform with him, which I think is also a big thing. Like you're going out there, but you should also bring like a ton of people. Kendrick brought one, and then he had Serena Williams doing a crip walk, but like
to go home to her white husband.
It took us all a second to realize that was even her. So it was like, you've had collabs with so many people, like you could have brought some people out there. But yeah, I think like Bruno Mars, for instance, how we brought out like
DJ Mustard was there. Don't forget about him. The producer.
Yeah. No, yeah. The guy that everyone in the room went, who the hell is that? When he walked in, I was like, I'm assuming it's Mustard. The guy who makes beats for Kendrick.
Any thoughts on the commercials? I honestly don't remember much of the commercials, but enlighten me.
I didn't catch many either. I was working for like the first half of that game at B-Dub, so I just missed. I didn't really hear any of the commercials. I watched a few back. The Coors Light one was really funny. The Monday one with the sloths and all that. The Mountain Dew one with Seal was very interesting. Yeah, I just don't feel like there's the creativity we once had with these. Like I was just this morning on Twitter watching the 1 year, I don't remember what Super Bowl it was, where Tide had like 17 ads. And they were like, it was like an Old Spice ad, and they'd be like, nope, this is a Tide ad. And like it would just keep, every time you thought it was like a Mr. Clean ad, it was a Tide ad. Like it just kept switching. Like that type of creativity that started to come in. But like we're missing like, Doritos used to have like the yearly one that was always going to slam. Like you had the Budweiser one that was always going to slam. And like the Budweiser one this year was fine, but they release it a week before the Super Bowl, and then they give you a snippet of it in the Super Bowl. So I don't know. Like I know it's expensive to put it out there, but I feel like that would drive a little bit more creativity. Like that's why a lot of people used to watch Super Bowl. Like that was a big part of watching a Super Bowl, is seeing what the commercials are going to be. And I feel like in the past few years, they've kind of dipped down a little bit in creativity. And I feel like we're seeing more like just ads that we've been seeing for the whole season already going through this. And I'm like, you gotta show out. Like this is where you make your mark a little bit and like really get your foot in the door. But I don't know. I think a big problem is they need to stop releasing them before the Super Bowl.
Like social media age.
Yeah, it's just kind of like I love the Budweiser one, but I would have loved to watch it for the first time while watching the Super Bowl. It would have been cool. But it kind of fell flat a little bit for me. For the ones that I watched, I kind of need to sit down, like go like on YouTube and watch every single one of them. But yet nothing really caught my eye when I was watching it. It was just kind of whatever. But that's kind of what we've grown to expect in the past few years. So we just need the big dogs like Doritos and like Pepsi to come back with like crazy ones. So I don't know. Hopefully next year they'll get it right though.
Doubt it. Any thoughts on this year's, maybe, like Jackson said, the trend of how bad they're getting? Do we have hope?
I'm sure one of these years some company will go big and we'll get one good one, but no, I don't. I think this is what we're gonna have to get used to. I think they literally played it was like a Fox betting ad. It was like a 10-second like do just no music and everything, and I was like, this is the Super Bowl. You can do something at least. At least make an attempt of effort, but it's whatever.
Subpar. Seems the commercials have kind of gone the way of the Super Bowl logos. We're regressing. They need to step it up.
Yeah, I don't really have any hope for the future. I think my favorite one that I saw, and I don't even remember seeing it when it actually happened, was they just did a 30-second ad to just go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
They're just like, if you need to go use the restroom, go do it now. You're not missing anything. I think that's a great idea for a commercial. Any last thoughts on the Super Bowl before we hit the ad break and then move on?
I think it's you wish it was a better game. I think a lot of people are happy with how it turned out. I think this is kind of just generally, like I said, what happens when you don't put like the two best teams in the NFL in there. Like I think the Chiefs are like the third best AFC team, if you want my personal opinion, and I think that just kind of showed in this game. But that's the way it rolls sometimes. And, when you have good coaches like, Spagnuolo and Reed, I mean, they're going to get you there, especially when you have Mahomes. But, yeah, when you play in as many Super Bowls as you do, you're going to have a bad game. And that's what happened to Mahomes. And he just went against one of the best defenses in the NFL, which, if you want me to be honest, isn't going anywhere. And I think the only team that can probably keep the Eagles from going on a dynasty type of run is probably the Lions. At least in the next, the very soon coming years. I think the Lions are the only team, when healthy, that can actually maybe stop that from happening. But right now, I think it's the Eagles' league at the moment, and I think if they want to take that, they can. And it wouldn't blow me away if they were to go on a run like the Chiefs just did, where they went to 4 out of the last 6. Like, that would not blow me away, because I don't really see anybody in the NFC other than the Lions that can really build up a team to go get them, and even the Lions have kind of their windows kind of shrinking as well. So I don't know, but the Eagles, sky's the limit. Their whole team's so young. I think all those guys they got from Georgia, they're on their second year. It's ridiculous to think that Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis are still on their rookie deals, I think, and that they can have them for the next 5 years probably, and that's going to be a really hard thing to stop. So I'm interested to see what happens. But yeah, I think the Eagles are maybe taking their first step on the way to a dynasty.
Is this a Super Bowl episode or a Georgia football episode?
Man, go
No, I'm
Dogs.
just kidding. I mean, it's just going to be hard to pay all of those guys, but yeah, we'll find out. Any last thoughts?
No.
Yeah, I'm a Giants fan. Go Big Blue. Fuck the Eagles. Yeah, that's it.
All right, let's hit the ad break, and then we'll see you guys on the other side.
Verb Energy bars give you that extra boost that you need in the morning. They have an assortment of different types of bars, whether it's from caffeinated bars for the morning, as well as protein bars, whether in the morning or after your workouts. My personal favorite right now is the chocolate chip banana bread. It's awesome, helps me get through the day, through the podcast, also through the work throughout the week. So right now, if you go onto their website, use code ROCKSOLID, you can get 30% off your next order. Verb Energy is the best way to start your day. Go check them out.
Welcome back to the second half of the show. As you just heard Jackson, go buy Verb Energy bars. Yeah, code ROCKSOLID, 30% off. Great deal. Oh, yeah, we have Scott here. Did you try them?
Did I try them? I had one this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Took Jackson's recommendation on the chocolate chip banana bread. A home run.
Home run.
Right?
We said we'd get the live review for you. Yeah.
So go buy them.
Go buy 'em.
Use the code.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good promo right there. Oh yeah, go buy them. Shop Verb Energy rocks. Uco's rock solid. You guys hear it every week. Just go do it now, and then come back to the episode. All right, we're just gonna talk NFL headlines that happened throughout the year. Maybe our opinions on that, a couple funny takes, whatever, and then we have our takes at the end of a couple things we may have messed up or had almost right. I guess we'll first start. This is just off CBS. Number 10 headline of the year: Bears faceplant despite offseason overhaul last year. Yeah, they get all these guys, sign DJ Moore to an extension, get Keenan Allen, he's old, get DeAndre Swift, draft Caleb Williams. What do we think the reason is besides Matt Eberflus of why this team was so bad?
Yeah, no, I know we said besides that, but I have to throw that out there. That whoever runs polls, is that his name?
Ryan Poles. Yeah.
Whatever his fucking thought process was about, like, we're going to rebuild this team from the ground up. We're going to do everything right. We're going to build what could be a long-winded, long-running team, but we're going to keep this shitty coach that we have that has obviously been a problem in the past couple of years, and that shouldn't be a problem, and it was 100% a problem. They need a guy who can, Ben Johnson's heading there, but, like, they need a guy who can bring that locker room kind of together. Because Caleb Williams, I don't know, like, what type of, like, leader he is. Like, I think he just needs maybe some help. Because that whole team is like a powder keg. Like, it can either go crazy or it could literally explode and they could do nothing. So I think it's just interesting to see, like, how they're going to handle this in the offseason. I think they got a really good coach. I think if they can get, a little bit more protection on the line, because their defense wasn't horrible. And then Caleb Williams, maybe a little sophomore pop. He'll come in here and play pretty good, which I have faith in him. I think we've been blessed with, like, Jaden Daniels and C.J. Stroud, like, these guys who have come in their first year and done unbelievable numbers and gone to the playoffs and done certain things that we've forgotten that it really takes, like, 2-3 years before you can really call
Bo Nix. He didn't say
yeah.
Bo Nix. I got you.
I clocked the disrespect. Don't worry. I heard it. I noted.
But yeah, I think it just takes a couple of years to get a quarterback really into a groove, and that it's it's a rarity to have a quarterback do great things in the first year like Bo Nix. I mean, that guy did things that we've never seen before. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see what Caleb Williams does in the future, especially if they can get him a little bit more protection up front. I think he's got a high ceiling, so I think it's just about making sure you get the right guy in there to really coach him up, put him in the best position possible. I think Ben Johnson can do that. And there's a lot of potential for that team, but we'll see what they do to improve.
I mean, I don't think there's anything to really worry about as a Bears fan. It's first year, rookie quarterback, terrible coach. I think they'll be fine. They got plenty of time. Like you said, high ceiling for Caleb. He didn't have a bad year or anything, so I mean, he played great for a rookie. So yeah, I think they'll be all right.
3,000.
No Bo Nix.
3,393 yards, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
Dang, yeah, he sucks.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, Ryan Poles out here making Nico Harrison level decisions. No, I'm not a huge fan of Caleb Williams, but I think you got to give him some time. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback, like Jackson said. We've seen 2 of the best rookie campaigns the last 2 years. that's not normal. These guys go back and look at Peyton's rookie year. Give them some time. I think they'll be okay. Ben Johnson, I think, is a good hire. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Poles just because Matt Eberflus got a haircut over the offseason, he was like, oh, we got a whole new head coach. That wasn't the case at all. The only thing that worries me about the Bears, I think their roster will grow and Caleb Williams will get better, and coaching I think will hopefully get better, is they're just maybe cursed in their division. That division, 3 teams made the playoffs, worst team being the Packers, and the Packers are – I think I put them in like a contender level going into the season.
Yeah.
Probably will next year too, because I think Jordan Love's like actually pretty good. But yeah, I think they just might be cursed if they're going to have the worst, or the hardest like track to make the playoffs, just having to get beat up by NFC North teams.
Yeah, it's not like the NFC South where it's like,
Yeah.
you're going to in a season and you're like, if we can win 9 games, we can make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
They're gonna have
it's
to
a
win
tough
like
one.
13 or
Yeah.
14, which that's tough.
Mhm.
All right, I'll combine this next headline: Chargers and Broncos. One after getting a new head coach and one after getting a new quarterback. Both teams surged to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? Jim Harbaugh, Bo Nix.
I think the AFC West is going to get really good. I think the Raiders under Pete Carroll is going to kind of pop up a little bit as well. I just think it's one of those things where I mentioned it when we were talking about the Super Bowl. I think that if there's a time for the Chargers and the Broncos to lock in and start getting into those positions, I think it's now, because I think the Chiefs are going to kind of plateau a little bit, which, I mean, a Chiefs plateau is still one of the best teams in the NFL, but, it's one of those things where I think the door is a little bit more open now, especially if
Maybe they lose 2 or 3 division games
Yep.
next year,
Mhm.
something like
and
that.
that could be like the big difference in like just beating the Chiefs when you play them. Like that's a big part of it. And I think if they can attack the offseason right, I think both teams have a future quarterback with them. I think Bo Nix is really, really solid, and I think he's going to be able to lead that team to multiple playoffs. And it's just going to come down to the organization to fill that team out as much as possible. Same with the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert's really, really good. And I think he's on that precipice of really breaking through and kind of being like one of those, top 10 quarterbacks. Now, I think he is right now, but like threatening that top 5 a little bit. I think he has like the build for it and the arm for it. And I think if he can just get like a couple more receivers, like they helped him out with Ladd McConkey was a dog. Quinn Johnson even had a pretty Jesus. Yeah. But I'm sorry, my dogs played well this year. Yeah, I think Quinn Johnson solid 3. You know what I'm saying? But you need I think you got Ladd there who's really solid. You got Quinn who can be like that number 3, and I think they just need that threat. And I think it's the same thing with the Broncos. I think that's the only thing the Broncos are really missing right now. Their defense is solid. They're just missing that threat. And when the closest thing to that biggest threat you have is Courtland Sutton, like Courtland Sutton's a dog, but like he's not like a game changer. And I think if both these teams could find like one game changer to kind of bring into the fold, I think they're both that one step away from being able to really compete with the Chiefs and like maybe take the division away from them. And it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. Both have really good coaches who know how to win, who have won before. And I think that's going to be a big point moving forward. And I think that the ceiling, non-existent.
Ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan once said. Your thoughts?
Hey, we're here for the first time in 10 years. I told you we were in Golden for the thing. I said go Broncos to some dude, and I turned around and I was like, I haven't been able to say that proudly in so long. I mean, it sucks that the Chargers have to decide to be good at the same time, but hey, we embrace the competition. We love to see it. We're taking down the Chargers. We're taking down the Chiefs. We're going to get rid of the Raiders. They're not going to be a team anymore, and the NFL will be good again.
Yeah, so I was not a huge fan of the Bo pick, but he proved me wrong. He played a fantastic season, and I think the trajectory is definitely looking up for the Broncos. As far as the Chargers go, when do we start having a conversation of Herbert maybe not living up to expectations? Because they kind of lofted all this stuff on him early in his career. We were watching kind of the next great quarterback, and he hadn't got there yet. Now, he's still got plenty of time, but that's what I'll be looking for from the Chargers next year.
Yeah, that's a great point. Both Oregon quarterbacks, too. Let me tell you guys about a dream I had last night. I haven't even told him this. I just remembered when you mentioned that the Broncos need a wide receiver. This is really crazy that I had this dream last night, and this is now what we're talking about. I had a dream. For some reason, we were going to Isaac's parents' house, which I'm not going to dox them, but they're just down that way in Castle Rock. And okay, you don't know which way, down that way in Castle Rock. And we were about to walk into their house, and T. Higgins was outside, and there was a for sale sign at the house next door, and he was going to look at buying the house next door, which, if you know what the money T. Higgins has, he can get a way bigger house. But anyway, yeah, I took like a picture with T. Higgins, ended up getting my phone my phone docked. It was his whole dream. But anyway, with that being said, I do think T. Higgins probably signs with the Broncos, which is a huge threat for them. I'm dead serious that this was a dream I had last night. So I think they do get that number one guy, the Chargers. I still don't know. Like you said, Justin Herbert, kind of not living up to expectations yet. If they kind of did have we did a 1-2 punch of Keenan Allen 3 years ago when he was younger, and Mike Williams being that lob threat. You could just imagine if they had a running back at that time, if they had a guy like Ladd in the slot, what that could open for Justin Herbert. But I guess we'll just have to see. I think their rosters with the Broncos and Chargers, they need to now build around their quarterbacks and their coaching styles now that they both have found that mold, which, again, we talked about how rare it is in the NFL to have the quarterback and the coach on the same page and liking each other. It's only maybe 10 teams in the NFL. It's not a good percentage. So the fact that those two teams have that right now that's a great sign for the future.
Yep.
So any comments on that dream?
I don't think I do. That is quite the crazy
Very
dream.
vivid.
Yeah, no, it was. It was crazy.
I hope he plays here just so we can make that dream come true.
Yeah.
You getting your picture with T. Higgins.
I don't think he's going to move next to Isaac Experience, but
Whoa,
That'd be pretty cool.
you
you never know.
You never know. Next headline: Cowboys crumble and make or break. I know you're gonna have something to say. Cowboys crumble and make or break season, and Mike McCarthy is out. Thoughts on the Cowboys?
Yeah, you said make or break season. Now I bet on make, and they broke pretty quickly. So, I don't know. There's some problem there. I mean, obviously Jerry Jones is an issue. I think they're not going to get any better because they hired within the organization, an organization that's kind of been mediocre to above average for the past decade. I think that was a really poor decision to hire Schottenheimer. Is that what it is? Or
Something like that.
yeah, Oppenheimer.
Brian Schottenheimer.
But yeah, dude, as soon as they did that move, I remember texting you and being like, this might be the most idiotic decision I've ever seen in my entire life, because they're just going to continue to kind of just be what they've been, which is, I think this year was a kind of nightmare year for them. I think they'll bounce back next year and be kind of what they have been before. But yeah, I think that they're not going to go up because they didn't change anything. They're literally getting an offensive coordinator from their own staff of a team that their offense doesn't perform that well. So I don't really know what they're thinking there. I don't know if this is going to be a short hire. It's just until Jerry Jones doesn't control that team anymore, I don't really see them being able to do anything. And I think this was the last year where I think people are going to somewhat try to ride that Cowboys hype going into a season of they got the team, they could do it. And I think that's the last year that's going to happen. I thought that they were going to do good just because I was like, maybe this year they put it together. They got the team. They got the guys. If Dak can have a good year, they can, without question, have a great run. Just didn't end up being the case. And I think that they've done nothing to help that. In free agency, they didn't get anybody. And last offseason, they didn't get anybody. They make no improvements. They make no changes. And they're expecting things to change. Definition of insanity. That's just how that whole Cowboys organization's running. And I think Jerry Jones' inability to let go of the reins is going to drive them into the ground because he literally won't do anything to help them succeed. So I don't see them being a real threat moving forward. They're probably just going to turn into 8 to 10 win team every year and probably burn out in the playoffs like they usually do. It's just it sucks because I love Dak and I love CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, all those guys. Love seeing them. I think they have a pretty solid team. It's just that for some reason Jerry Jones just refuses to make that team any better, and I think it shows. And I think Schottenheimer's going to blow that team up.
That's a good joke.
Yeah, thank you.
NFL owner, GM, and actor in Landman and Entourage, Jerry Jones. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know what they're doing. I thought that hire was crazy. I feel like that's the biggest thing. I think they're giving up. I think they're tanking.
looks like the worst coaching hire so far in the cycle. The cycle's over now, but
I mean, maybe.
Especially
I
when you
don't-
have as much money as the Cowboys do. Like,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
You're-
Like all these guys that were out there.
You're Jerry Jones and you're America's team. You could probably go get whoever you want, but I don't know. He's doing something back there, mischievous. I know it.
as a that's just blank NFC East fan, Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure you're loving this.
So I love watching the Cowboys struggle almost as much as I watch the Giants have success. And I think it's not as easy as just the Dallas having money because they got plenty of it. I think it's hard for them to get a reputable coach that's willing to go there because you got to put up with this 85-year-old idiot owner who's going to sit there and micromanage. He's going to do his podcast appearances. He's going to host press conferences. He's got his fingers in every part of the team. It's hard for them to get a good coach to go there. So he just wants a yes man there. So he promotes some, I don't know even what his position was. He the offensive coordinator?
I don't even think.
I think he
don't-
was the offense
Yeah,
coordinator.
I think he was last year.
So you promote a guy who's not really ready.
First year offense
Yeah,
coordinator too.
who's not ready for the position, who's just basically a figurehead there for you to puppet. So for 25 years, we've heard every year Dallas is loaded with talent. This is the year. When are we going to stop this? Because they've been
Now
13-win team, 12-win team. They beat up on bad teams, and they lose almost every big game they play every year. If you look back, they haven't even been to an NFC title game since 96 or whatever the hell it is. And look at the division. Giants, 2 Super Bowls, 3 appearances since then. Eagles, same. The Redskins, the Commanders with a title game appearance, out of nowhere this season. They're falling behind the whole division, so they can stack up all of the 13-win seasons they want. Their ass is still home, after the divisional round every year. That's their ceiling.
Yeah, no, you make a great point. I think it's more no head coach, maybe even players want to deal with that drama. I think the craziest story I heard this year was one of the players that got either traded at the deadline or bought out, cut, whatever. He went on a podcast and said that Jerry Jones hosts public tours for their practice facility every day. So there's people just watching their practices every day, which is that's a training camp thing for open practices, but that's just not normal in the rest of the NFL.
It's
so
like a zoo.
it's like a zoo.
Yeah.
That's not what people are going to want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Brian Schottenheimer, Denver, Colorado native.
Oh God.
So
Don't put it bad. Don't put anything bad on them. Get them on the show. Do you want to mention one more thing about the Cowboys? Well, we're here to talk about it. About how Jackson.
We're referencing Jackson's
Yeah.
Super Bowl pick.
Yeah.
I crushed him for it at the time. I felt bad, Love Jackson. But that pick, he learned the hard way this year what we've all known for 20 plus. He never bet on him.
Yeah, no, that's. I think at the long wind of this podcast, for years and years to come, that's going to be my biggest fault probably ever in picking them. I mean, I got crunched as soon as that graphic got posted. I think people who hadn't commented on anything in years were like, I'm gonna knock the dust off real quick just to ruin this kid real quick. Yeah, a lot of false hope that went into that. To be fair, I always ride with what I say. I'm gonna stand on my word. But afterwards, I was like, I think I mixed up them and the Lions, but it's too late. I gotta ride. You gotta ride with my decision that I put out there. But yeah, I mean, it's just you say, when does that stop? The hype, and this is their year. I think this is it. I think if there was gonna be a year where they were gonna do it, it was gonna be this year, and they just couldn't get anything going. It was hard to watch. Just the decision making of the team in general is playing Cooper Rush all year when you have a third, fourth year, pretty much still rookie quarterback in Trey Lance, who it's hey, if we can put that guy in, he plays well, we can ship Dak, we can get a bunch of shit, and we can improve the team. It's just decisions like that show you they're just the most unserious football team in the NFL. Because it's you're sucking anyway. I've always been a huge promoter of, if you're gonna suck with a rookie quarterback in, because you might as well give him that experience. And he's not a rookie anymore, but he hasn't really played. And I think Trey Lance is one of the sadder stories of the NFL right now, because he really has not gotten a chance anywhere. He's been to 2 different teams, just the 49ers and the Cowboys, but just never has been given an opportunity to even play. he could literally be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and we wouldn't know it because they won't play him. They'd rather play Cooper Rush and suck. So like I don't really know what the whole
Hey,
idea
Cooper
is.
Rush has a good winning percentage in the NFL.
I'm sure he does. Yeah, but yeah, I know. But yeah, I had a lot of hope going into the season, and I thought that was going to be kind of a correct pick, and it just didn't end up being the case. I also had the Ravens in the Super Bowl. They lost in divisional. Like, it's just a bad run for me in general.
If it makes you feel any better, I think he might have the graphic right there too. I believe I picked the Jets in the AFC Championship. In that same episode, I also picked Dak Prescott to win MVP. So you're not. We weren't too far off. I'll say that. All
I
right.
had the Dolphins, so I mean, we all kind of shit the bed for at least one person.
Next
I
year we
went
gotta
to-
be
Gotta
better.
lock in.
We gotta be way better than
We're
that.
gonna have to be a lot more boring with our picks next year.
All right, 4 more headlines to run through. I'm gonna put you right back on the hot seat. Falcons move on from quarterback Kirk Cousins to rookie Michael Penix, which I'm pretty sure you mentioned you loved.
I do love that. I think Kirk, he lacks the mobility that I think that the Falcons need. The Falcons are a very fast-paced team that really likes to move.
Real quick, can we also backtrack to when you got Kirk Cousins and how excited you were?
Yeah, and honestly, for the first 4 weeks, like the first 4 to 6 weeks, that was a very good thing to be happy about because he played out of his mind, but he's so inconsistent, and that's really his issue. I mean, coming off the Achilles, he wasn't able to even do like under the center snaps or anything. Like it was all out of pistol or whatever it was. But yeah, he played really good for that little stretch. Like there was a point in the season where we were 6-3 and we're leading the division by 2, and then you blink and we're 6-7 and we're tied with the Bucks, and it's just everything fell apart so fast. But there's such a high ceiling for the Falcons. I think, like not biasly, I just think that they're so young and have so much talent, and if they can get like another receiver on that team to match up with Darnell Mooney, Drake London, and him. If Kyle Pitts can get his shit together, like that would be nice. We have probably a top 5 running back duo in the NFL with Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. Michael Penix, though, is one of the prettiest balls I've ever seen ever, especially out of a lefty. That thing comes out fucking tight. So like literally,
God, I'm
like,
sounding like John Cruton.
like I remember we went to the Broncos Falcons game and the Broncos were just like giving it to the Falcons, and he came in and like he started throwing the ball, and I was like, it looks good. Like that was the only happiness I had during that game, was seeing him throw a ball and being like, that motherfucker can throw a pretty ball. And so I think there's a lot of upside with Michael Penix. I think literally if he can stay healthy, I think we can win the NFC South, to be honest with you. I think, but that's not saying much, but I think this year and the year before even, we're like 2-3 games away from, close games too, away from having like a 10-11 win season. So like the Falcons are right there. I think they need to, I think we just got rid of our defensive coordinator and we picked up the guy who, Ulbrich did the interim for the Jets.
yeah.
Picked him up as our DC because that was a big problem near the end of the year. But I think there's a lot of potential there. We're really young. We got a lot of time left with a lot of these guys. And if we could just keep like Bijan, Penix, and Drake, I think I could be happy with that. Kyle Pitts, I'd love to trade him, but I just don't really know who we would get to replace him because he's not great, but he's also better than like who we could probably replace him with. But yeah, if we could keep those 3, I think it's nice. I think our defense is really solid. We just need some linebackers, edge rushers. Like that's our biggest thing. Like I'd love to see us go out and get Myles Garrett. Like I'd love to go see us throw 2 picks and Kyle Pitts to go get Myles Garrett. Like I'd be okay flushing a lot of things out to go get a guy like Myles Garrett who can come off the edge and help guys like Grady Jarrett, because Grady Jarrett's great, but he's also one of the only guys on that entire line that can actually make a difference, so they end up doubling him, and then he can't really make that big of an impact. So I'd love to see us go out and do something like that. I think we're going to re-sign Justin Simmons at least another year. I'd love to see him get re-signed in another 2 years to be back there with Jesse Bates. But I think there's a lot of potential there, and if we can get the right coaching scheme going and really win the games that we need to win, like can't be blown again Carolina. We can't let Carolina score 40. Like we have to beat.
Hey, respect Bryce Young. He
had a great year.
Yeah.
But that team's still the Panthers, and so we need to like sweep the Panthers. We need to sweep the Saints, and then we need to at least go half with the Bucks. And I think that's like a big thing that we tried to do this year, and we almost did. Because even this year, we were so close. We were this close to breaking into there.
if we win that game at the end of the year against Washington, like we break in, I think we have a similar game against Washington in the playoffs, if you want me to be honest with you, because I think our offense with Michael Penix is so explosive, and I'm excited to see what they do. And I don't know, it's got a lot to work on still, but I think there's a great foundation to make the Falcons pretty amazing.
I know you guys don't have the same inside information as he does,
Mm-mm.
covering the Falcons, but
We don't.
as an outsider, what do you think about that move of Kirk Cousins to Michael Penix?
I mean, I think it's the right move. Why wouldn't you go switch to the younger quarterback that's
First rounder.
I was going to say healthier, but maybe. I don't know about
We'll
that
see.
one. I don't know. We can't say that. Hey, but he looked good at the end of the year. So, no, I think, like I said, I think it's the right move. I don't think that was surprising by any means whenever they did it. Like, whenever they did it, it's just kind of like, yeah, I can see that. I think Kirk, I don't know. He could probably go start somewhere, maybe.
Yeah, well, 100%.
Well, yeah, but I just don't know. Where? That's what I'm saying. I mean, he could go somewhere.
If I'm the Titans,
I was
I'm
saying
Yeah,
Titans.
picking
that's a
up
great
Kirk
point.
for $1 million and drafting Travis Hunter first, like without question.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good move.
Your thoughts on the Falcons?
Yeah, I never understood the decision to draft Penix when you had just signed Kirk. That was a head scratcher to me. It's definitely the right decision now to move on from Kirk. And like Jackson said, first 5-6 weeks of the season, they were flying. He looked great, and it came crashing down almost instantly. It felt like.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely the right decision to move on. And I'll defer all the other stuff to Jackson. He knows a lot more about the Falcons than I do.
That's
He was saying names. I was like, oh.
yeah, that 6-game stretch where I think he went 6 games without throwing a single touchdown.
Yeah.
And he threw a pick in every single game. Like you're right, it literally crashed down immediately. Like we were doing as good as we were. Like we were fresh off of like 3-4 game win streak. Like we barely just lost to the Chiefs. Like we were riding high, and then like you blink and we're under 500 and scrapping trying to win these games, and our offense can't work anymore. Like it was literally in the blink of an eye we turned from a easy playoff team to just like we're gonna be scratching to get in. And I think the Falcons are blessed to be in the NFC South because it is such an easier division. Like even on a good year, like if you can get 10 wins, you can do it. Whereas in, like you said, in the NFC North, like you got to win like 12, 13 to kind of win that division. So we're blessed to be in that. I don't know what the future of the NFC South does look kind of bright, I think. I think the Saints, they're just in full rebuild. They're going to eventually be back. The Bucs are the Bucs, but they're running out of time because they're all getting older. Like Baker's getting older, Mike Evans getting older, Godwin's getting older.
Free agent.
Yeah, so it's just they're running out of time. And then the Panthers showing a little spark this year of what could maybe be a pretty solid year next year. I love seeing Bryce Young get that chance again. I think they had to put him on the bench to show him like, hey man, we know we picked you like first, but you're not untouchable, and we will take you out if you suck. And I think that really changed something in his mind, and he came out and played way better. But I think the Falcons, again, this next upcoming year have the highest odds to win the NFC South, and they just got to capitalize on it, win the games they just need to win. You only need to win about 9-10 of them, and then you can easily make the playoffs. So I'm hoping. I'll get cautiously optimistic again, or delusional, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I have no thoughts. You covered it. Bijan, hook 'em. That's my thoughts on the Falcons. Next headline: Joe Burrow attempts to will the Bengals into the postseason. 4,641 yards, 42 touchdowns, 8 interceptions this year. Future for the Bengals, if T. Higgins doesn't leave, who knows? Thoughts on the Bengals? I mean, they're 3 years now removed from being in the Super Bowl. Just got rid of their defense coordinator, who's now with the Colts. Let's pray for that one. And yeah, I mean, is the window closing, or is it still Joe Burrow? Like on the record, said a couple years ago, the window's always open when I'm here.
Yep.
Are we sticking with that, or?
I'm sticking with that. I think, this year just started out on such a bad note, and it's one of those things where we were watching this game, we talked about it every single episode, that they are playing so well. They played so good last year, they just couldn't win. Like that was the problem. Is like they couldn't finish out games and like win the game. But like you looked at the stats, like they played fine. Like there wasn't really many mistakes. It was just they could not get that final step to win the game. And I think if they would have kind of locked into that earlier,
they make the playoffs over the Broncos.
If they just won week 1 against the Patriots, they
Yeah.
would have made the playoffs.
Yeah, and like I love that the Broncos made it, and I'm happy that they got there. But I can't.
Everybody
lie
would've
and
wanna
say that the Bengals might have had a chance to like beat the Bills, and I think that they just kind of like you said, you can't lose to the Patriots week 1, and then just struggle as much as you struggle throughout the year. But I think next year they're going to kind of get it together. I think Joe Burrow is a threat whenever he's playing if he's healthy. If they can, they need to probably replace. They're going to have to replace like that T. Higgins slot. So I'm excited to see what they do there. But I think, as long as he's there, I think he's, like you said, I'd agree, like he's probably top 5. And I think any quarterback who's in the top 5 has the opportunity to change the trajectory of a team. And I think the Bengals just had a really, nightmare type of year for themselves. And the fact that they still almost made the playoffs with that type of nightmare year, like I think that they got a lot of opportunities coming up.
No, I agree. We're sticking with it. I think he proved this year he's a comeback player. He proved that he still got it even after going through another injury. They'll be fine. I think with him, they'll be all right.
Yeah. I think with the Bengals, 2 things. If Burrow can stay healthy and stay on the field, you've always got a shot. And if they could just find a way to win games in September, I mean, the last 3-4 years, getting off to the 1-3, 1-4 start, it's uphill the rest of the way. And this year, they just couldn't kind of get there. 1 game short, like you said, Patriots week 1. How do you lose that
Gotta
game?
win that game. Yeah, I think that's, like you said, last 3 or 4 years they've started off the year 1-3, 1-4, 0-4. I think 2 years ago, and I think he had that record against the Browns where he was like 1-7 going into this year against the Browns or something. Which for the Browns, these last 3-4 years have been god awful.
Yeah.
Besides that 1 year with Baker, but like it's the little things that with the Bengals. But I'm with Caden. I'm with all you guys. I mean, I think Joe Burrow is that good. I'm a huge Joe Burrow supporter. Him and Josh Allen, I don't know why. I'm just like, those 2 guys are good at football.
Just like that gritty, bring
Just
your
the way
lunch
they
pail to
play.
work, guys.
No.
Get in
No,
first
no.
in and last out.
No.
Sneaky athletic.
No,
Gritty.
not like that. They can both win football games. I think they're just going to get cursed with the same. Ben Roethlisberger was able to win one, like Phillip Rivers. There's certain guys that were just never able to get past Tom Brady, and I hope they don't fall like in that category to Patrick Mahomes, because I think those 2 guys deserve better, and so does Lamar. Lamar's in that conversation as well. Second to last headline: future Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers and the Jets crash and burn.
Yep.
Oh, that headline should not say that right now.
Yeah. Thanks, bro.
Aaron Rodgers literally, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, got informed by the Jets that he will not be coming back this year. I think we already kind of knew that, but they made it public. They said he couldn't go on Pat McAfee's show if he wanted to come back next year. I don't know if that was the decision maker in the process or not, but thoughts on the Jets season. I obviously picked them to go to the AFC Championship. I also did predict for them to trade for Devontae Adams at the beginning of the season. So
Yep.
1 for 2.
Yeah, there you go. I think that Aaron Rodgers is still a good quarterback. I think he can still will wins, but he's not good enough to take a Jets team that is not built to make a run into the playoffs. And it's just pretty rough. I think at one point you said something about him moving, and I said I think he's kind of untouchable, or you don't want to go near him with a 10-foot pole, like. Everywhere he goes, ever since a certain year, everywhere he goes, he just kind of burns everything down and makes the show kind of about Aaron Rodgers. And I think that was him bringing all of his friends to the Jets, his 3 30-year-old receivers that he wanted to bring.
Pretty cool for him.
Pretty cool for him, but it's he's going to have to go somewhere where he can have control over what he wants to do. And I don't know who's going to want him. Maybe a team that's kind of needs that guy maybe for a year. Who knows? But who?
The Giants.
The Giants, yeah.
We don't want him.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say they're about to draft somebody probably. So, but yeah, I think he's just, I don't know. I think his time's up. I don't think he's got a Super Bowl run in him, which makes it really hard to, with Kirk Cousins. We've seen what he can do. And I can see from an Atlanta perspective how you could look at him and be like, I could see him taking us to a deep playoff run in a way. I don't see how you look at Aaron Rodgers at all and go, this is a guy that can help us out a lot. I think he's a guy that gets picked up by a dog shit team that needs to rebuild and wants to just have a placeholder for a couple years or like 2 years. Like I think that's where he's going to probably end up. I could see him going to like the Browns, honestly, like because I think the Browns are another team that are early pick but probably won't take a quarterback in my personal opinion. So they could go out and get an Aaron Rodgers and like, you know, accept the fact that he's probably not going to win them that many games, and you know maybe they'll get a couple early picks in the next couple years, and then they can worry about quarterback after that. But I think that's the type of team that's going to want to get him, or the only type of team that's going to want him. Like he's not going to go be a backup anywhere. Like that's not something he'll retire before he does that. So I don't know who's going to want him, but if I'm a GM, I don't want him because I think he's washed up. And he's not going to help us in any way, really. So he's still got those moments, like you saw him with the Jets. Like every now and then he'd had those moments where that was prime Rodgers throwing the ball right there. But they're so far and few between. Like it just doesn't really work anymore. And so I think he's just going to have to go to a team that sucks. And I think that's the only landing spot for him.
Almost Broncos quarterback, maybe Giants quarterback. Thoughts on Aaron Rodgers?
Thank God. I was so sad. It was between him and Russ back a couple years ago.
Both would have been bad. It looks like.
You know what? I would rather the situation we had where Russ was already. I already didn't like the guy, so who cares? Aaron Rodgers, that would have hurt because he's supposed to be the best. But I don't know. You think he plays again?
I don't know. I think
I would wrap it up if I were him. Like,
Yeah, why not?
What's the point?
Yeah.
go be a game show host. That's what he wants to do.
There's no point anymore. Like, you can go make just as much money doing whatever you want. Ayahuasca in the mountains.
Netflix will pick it up. It's probably
Oh.
a hefty check.
No, I'm sure, yeah. But I don't know. I'd give it up if I were him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with Caden. It's time to hang it up. Like Jackson was saying, does Rodgers want to go play for a 6-7 win team at 40, 41 years old? There's not a whole lot of upside to that for him. So I could see him kind of walking away at this point.
Yeah, I don't know about the Browns. I just, for some reason, it might be the orange, but I just like see them drafting Quinn Ewers in the second and being like, let's try this.
Yeah.
It's not going to work, but you never know. I don't know. I think it's like Steelers or bust kind of for Aaron Rodgers right now. It's either I heard he loved New York, so I was just thinking he just has to move, across. I know they play in the same stadium, so across the locker room.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was in his thought process. And you said he goes down to a place, and he goes to a place and he burns the place down before he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
You can't burn something that's already burnt down. In the case of the New York Giants,
That's a good point.
you might as well take a chance. You guys were the ones that had the things flying over the stadium, right? For the owner.
Oh yeah.
So
We want the GM out. We need to clean house.
maybe
How Dable kept his job, we don't know. But
maybe the GM bringing in Aaron Rodgers and then it all burning down. That's how you get the GM fired.
Yeah.
You never know. Last headline: who should win MVP? Josh Allen or Lamar? Or if you had maybe Saquon, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean,
Did the NFL get it right?
I think they did. I think, Lamar had a great year, and, so did Josh Allen. I think it might be one of those things where, they were voting on it, and they were like, it's a really tight race. Lamar's 1-2. Maybe we just kind of shift our votes a little bit to Josh Allen to maybe just, get him one because he's been so close, and he deserves it. And maybe that had something to do with it. It's just because they do vote on it, so there's a very good possibility that they were like, Lamar has 2, we could probably afford to give Josh Allen one. Not that he didn't earn it, but they had such similar kind of years that I think they got it right. It was kind of a tough decision either way. I think either way you pick it, I don't think anyone would have really been mad about it. Lamar wins it, I think people would have been happy, and then Josh Allen wins it, people are happy. So I don't think it was a win-win situation no matter who you picked. And these are also two guys that are going to be in this conversation for probably their entire career. I could see both of them finishing with 4+ MVPs, to wrap their careers up. Because Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, but he's also not really a big stats guy. It's just the way he plays that makes him one of the best. But yeah, he's not stats, so you really don't have to worry about Mahomes as much in the MVP really. So it really is a fight up there with and I think Joe Burrow is going to crack in a lot too. But yeah, there's a couple quarterbacks that are probably going to be fighting for those for the next 10 years. I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are two of those who are going to win majority of them
because I see them having the same type of year for multiple years to come. But shout out to Josh Allen. I mean, his whole career has been summed up by almost made it. And I think he finally
For this year. Yeah, pretty good year this year.
yeah, but like almost making the Super Bowl, almost making the AFC Championship, almost winning that game, almost winning the MVP. Like it's nice to see him finally break through and like win one, like kind of like finally get that recognition and get that like award that he deserves. And I don't know, it's fun to see it. He's a great guy, so it's cool to see him take that award. But yeah, no, I think they made the right decision, but I think it could have gone either way.
Shout out Haley Steinfeld. Your thoughts?
I agree. Either way you go, I don't think you could have been mad. Without each team, without those guys are nothing.
Terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Voters fatigue. It's a real thing. I think we've seen it now with Lamar. We've seen it with Jokic.
We've seen it again with Jokic.
Giannis.
Yeah, I kind of agree. If you look at the black and white stats, I think Lamar had statistically the better season.
100%.
Could have went either way, but it pains me to say it. I thought it should have been Saquon. His impact on that team, the resurgence of the running back in general, because that's been for the last 5 to 10 years almost a kind of a dead position in the NFL. You kind of roll with whoever you got back there, but him being the guy, getting 20, 25 carries a game, the numbers he put up, 2,000 yards, he didn't play the last game of the season. I thought they could have went that way. But yeah, either of those three guys, well-deserving.
Yeah.
Black and white stats, they got me worried there. in a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson conversation. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I mean, the voter fatigue, though, I agree. I mean, it's just kind of like if you look at the NBA, the same thing. It's just like you could have given LeBron more MVPs than he got, but you can't give it the same guy all the time. So I don't know.
We'll talk about that when we get to Jokic. I think it could have been Saquon as well. I'm not gonna lie to you. The Eagles, second best team in the NFC record wise, and yeah, I mean, we're like he said, last 3 years the whole convo has been about how do we get running backs paid more. Wasn't there a group FaceTime call between like Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, and like two other guys like wanting money? Look how kind of that ended out. Austin Eckler, decent here. I'll give him his credit. But, yeah, no, Saquon just brought back the running back position. Him and I'll give Derrick Henry his flowers, too. He had a great year. I guess we'll finish this up. Any bold predictions, early predictions going into next year? Anything. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to think. If we did have any old takes to refresh, I don't think there was like any off the top of our head that we can think about.
We've covered it.
I would have had to go back and do research, which I didn't want to do. Any bold predictions going into next year? Maybe draft, maybe
Chiefs ain't
playoffs?
making the AFC Championship.
Okay.
They're not.
Yeah.
Oh, Caden knocked his off. He got that. Wanted to get that one in and get out.
Yeah.
Any reasoning why they think?
Well, I think that Super Bowl loss is going to be a killer to their mentality, to their recruiting. I think that it's going to be a lot harder for people to want to. I mean, obviously it's Patrick Mahomes, but I don't know. I just think they're on the way out, and like I said, the AFC West is, and just the AFC in general, is only getting tougher. So
Taylor Swift 1-1 in Super Bowls. I think it's time to talk about her legacy.
I got a couple. I think I agree with Caden. I don't think they make the championship. I think they'll probably get into the divisional, but I think they'll lose to whoever they're playing because it'll more than likely be Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens, and Bills in that competition there. And I don't think that they could beat any of those teams, especially if they stay hot and get better. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to ride with what I said earlier. I think the Eagles took their first step into a dynasty run this year, and I think at least for the next 2-3 years, I think they're going to be a problem, and I think they're going to make the Super Bowl again. I think they'll be back next year. In the draft, like I said before, I think that the Titans and the Browns go get a veteran quarterback, and they draft other positions. Like I think Tennessee picks up like a Kirk Cousins and picks up Travis. And then my last one is I think Cam Ward's the best quarterback coming out of this draft, and he has the highest potential to be the C.J. Stroud or Jaden Daniels of next year, especially if he gets picked up by the Giants. I think, you connect that good of a quarterback with like Malik Neighbors. That's going to be a really good combination. But I think Cam Ward ends up being the rookie of the year offensively next year, and I think he plays really good, and I think he's the next like good
rookie first year player, and I think he succeeds very well.
I think it's whatever quarterback doesn't end up on the Browns is going to be good. Any bold takes?
I think next year, I think the Bills have got to get to a Super Bowl. I think if McDermott can't get there next year, I mean, how long do you stay with him? You can't keep you can't keep coming up short in the playoffs. I think next year for McDermott, Allen, it's time to get it done and at least get to the Super Bowl. I think that takes a lot of pressure off them.
I think Sean McDermott, he might be on the hot seat next year. Maybe Sean McDermott gets fired and Bill Belichick's didn't he used to coach at Buffalo back in the day?
Coordinator.
Yeah. Maybe it comes back full circle. You never know. Because I think Bill Belichick. I think if he comes back, he's gonna want a guy.
Yeah.
My bold take is Anthony Richardson will play his last snaps as an Indianapolis Colt very, very early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's due to injury or due to benching, but we're going to be tanking for that guy from Texas next year.
Yeah.
So I think he will play his last snaps pretty early in the season. It will probably be due to injury. That's just kind of how his careers went so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe like a slight injury, and then he just gets benched.
Yeah.
And then bring in Jameis. Fuck it. Give us Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
He might win us too many games, though.
Yeah. What's everyone's predictions? What's the team that Jameis is going to be playing on where he has a miracle run of 3 games? I like your Colts pick.
I really like the
No,
Colts
please
pick.
don't.
The Colts pick is a pretty good one.
Give me the Dolphins.
Yeah.
To another concussion, Jameis Winston just comes in,
Mm-hmm.
rallies the troops for 3 games.
I like it.
Give me the Jets.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He might start the
I'm
season.
about
Yeah.
to say.
Saints, maybe a reunion.
Yeah.
I had a team, but then I lost. Oh, it was sad. I can't say. I don't know. It's just the first team that came to my head. I can't say it. I say the Commanders.
Oh no,
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels. No.
It's the
healthy.
first thing that came to my
Maybe
head.
Broncos. Maybe
No,
backup.
no.
Maybe backup is Broncos. I know. I'm not talking about Bo Nix getting hurt, but he does have that Sean Payton connection.
True.
Taysom Hill, next Bronco. You never know.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We're just gonna get everybody. Taysom Hill, T. Higgins,
Cam Scatterboo.
Ashton
Scatterbo.
We're getting them all. Everyone's a Bronco.
Any last things you want to fire off on here while you're here, Scott?
No, just want to thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
It's been a great time. I don't know if we can edit this out, but Jacko, 3 years, congratulations.
No, that's staying in. That's staying in. No, we're not editing that out. If anybody didn't know, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so as of right now, we said this 2 weeks ago, we're going to take this next week off. We'll be back. This will probably drop, I'm guessing, Monday. We're going to take this whole next week off. Or maybe tomorrow, but a whole next week off unless anything big happens. So hopefully...
Last time we said that, the biggest thing ever happened.
Hopefully Nico Harrison doesn't decide to just jump off a building or something. But then, we're going to try to figure out some stuff to talk about coming up, whether that's we might have the NBA preview next week, even though we're in the midseason. NHL, golf is back, so we're going to figure out some things to do. March Madness coming up soon. So, we're going to figure that out internally, and then we'll show it to you guys next week. So, Scott, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
had a blast. Yeah, thank you for all the support, too. I mean... Yeah, you don't understand how much we love it. Just like the subtle like comments of when someone comments at like something that we said at the end of the video, and we're like, oh damn, they actually watched the whole video. Like that, it means a lot to us. So we do appreciate it. You and your wife, your sister, your whole family.
Yeah,
so
we're all big fans of the Fitzgerald household.
Yes, we need to get the merch rolling like we promised.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yeah, we will. Go follow everything about Jackson's Head. Go subscribe. It's in the bio if you're listening. And we'll see you next week. Go tell somebody you love them. You may just make their day. Peace.
Peace.